Okay, so number 3. Okay, so I was talking about signs in my previous video, and if you sort of wanted to, ask me questions, about how to close down your chakras, or, how to interpret signs and things like that. Like, I'm no expert, but I'm happy to share with you what I've learned along the way. You can subscribe to this channel, you can like me on Facebook, or you can send me a message, comment. If you comment or send me a message, I will answer you when I get a chance. It might not be immediate, but I will answer you. There's also there's a wealth of knowledge on Google, YouTube. I found a lady on YouTube called Nikki Sutton, who has a spiritual channel. Helps a lot with questions and things, and I've found her very helpful. And it's a free resource. It doesn't cost you anything just to turn on the TV. And the other thing, I kind of follow a lady named Anna Sace. Now she writes a blog, a spiritual blog, and a lot of the stuff, along her, about her journey and how she learnt things along the way too. I find they're quite down to earth, normal people that I can relate to. Most people that work in this industry are like that. They're very caring, nurturing people that want to help others. That's why they get into this business or this industry. Obviously not everyone is like that, but it makes me wonder if they're in the right profession. But most are. So if you reach out to me, I will do my best to get back to you and answer your question. And if I can't answer it, I'll direct you to someone that can, or if I know of a video or something else that might help, I'll try and send you in the right direction. So I mentioned in my first video that I had written some books, that I hadn't had a very nice childhood. One of the books that I'd always wanted to write was about my childhood. Now, I'd been sexually abused by my stepfather from the age of 10 through to the age of 16. And I wish I could say it was just me. There were other victims, mainly my younger brother as well. I can't mention others because obviously not everyone wants people to know these things. And my brother, he died when he was 19. I wanted to write a book about what I went through and my experiences. I don't know why. It was more of a therapy type thing, I guess, to get it out there, get it down on paper, get my story out there. I believe that we need to talk about it. When things like this happen, you need to talk about it. The worst thing you can do is keep it a dirty little secret and hide it away, because that's when they get away with it. Now, my stepfather, he did get away with it for a very, very long time. But in 2013, after years and years and years of pushing, I actually managed to get him convicted, and he did 5.5 years jail time. So probably not as much as what he deserved to do, but it actually gave me closure, and I felt vindicated. It wasn't so much revenge, it was justice. I felt like he had just been such a horrible person and had just been allowed to go on with his life, and no one knew about it or anything like that. So I fought to get him put to justice, and that's kind of what my book is about. Now this one. It's probably back to front because I'm showing it like it's almost like a mirror, isn't it? But it's called Life After Hell, Surviving Sexual Abuse. Now the synopsis that I wrote, or the thing on the back of the cover that I wrote, is this. It says, after being separated from my mother twice in my 10 short years of life, I was more than a little excited at the prospect of being reunited with her again. Unfortunately, my elation was to be short-lived when the visits to my bedroom started. threatening to send me away again or turn the loaded gun he kept in my wardrobe on us all, he kept my silence. It was to be another 6 years until I escaped the abuse of my mother's husband, and another 30 years before I was able to bring him to justice. Ironically, the one person that should have protected me and helped me fight to stop him, my mother, is still with him to this day. Now, when I wrote this, obviously it opened up a lot of wounds, I guess, but it also, like I said, it was like therapy, just getting it out there, getting it down, on paper. And I actually had quite a few people, when it was published, reach out to me and ask me, how I did this and how I did that and all that kind of stuff, which was really good. And what kind of happened with this is I sent him to prison. So in doing that, I got him away from my mother, which was kind of like a double-edged sword. Or a 2-for-1 deal, I don't know. But I had not had anything really to do with my mother for about 12 years because she had stayed with him. And I just could not understand that, why she had stayed with him all those years, why she hadn't gone to the police, why she hadn't just left him and gotten away from him. And I think part of that was because I was sort of comparing her to me, what I would do, and she's not me. She's a totally different person. She doesn't understand, like even now, she wouldn't understand how to do things on her own. She lives by herself, but she has all these things set in place, and when he was coming up for parole, I was watching very carefully to see what happened there. Was she going to let him come back home? If she did, I never would have had anything to do with her ever again. That would have been it. But she didn't. She did not want him to come home. She liked to have this newfound freedom where she wasn't getting beaten up every day and told she couldn't do this and she couldn't do that. So I waited, and when I realised that she wasn't going to let him come home, I rang her up. It took me a long time to do that, and actually the lady that I talked to you about as my mentor, my saviour, the person that, thank goodness or thank God, that I ended up meeting, because she just changed my life. And if you talk to her, she'd say, oh yes, but you always had the gift, dear, you just needed a little push. Such a wonderful lady. She taught me about forgiveness. Now, I don't know, most people aren't, they hold grudges, it's not easy to forgive someone, and I still could never forgive my stepfather. But I decided I was going to try and forgive my mother, and I didn't think it was going to work. I thought this was all a bit too much, But I did this forgiveness video, this forgiveness meditation. It was a video that I watched, forgiveness meditation, and I don't know, it kind of worked. And I rang up my mother, and she answered the phone, and she said hello, and I says hi, and she goes, is that you, Gladys? And I said, yeah, Mum, it's me. And she just burst into tears, and she was like, I never thought I'd ever hear from you again. Oh my God, I'm so happy. And so it kind of went from there, where we just talked and we talked and we talked, and I tried to explain to her how I felt, She didn't get a lot of it. She's never really taken responsibility for her part in it, because I don't know if she's not strong enough, or she just, like, she says things to me like I never realised I could get help from the government. I didn't think I could go on a single parenting benefit. If I'd known that, we could have left years ago. And I'm thinking, how can you not know that? But she's very naive. She's almost like a child in a way, where she doesn't know how the world works. And so I guess as time's gone by, I have kind of forgiven her, because she's so much different than me, the way she sees things. And her childhood was nothing like this, so it's not like she was abused as a child, because she talks very fondly of her childhood and her, you know. So it's almost like she's just so naive and so, I don't know, not street worthy or something. But and I guess I haven't just totally forgotten everything. But what happened was we were kind of working on our relationship, and I would ring her, and all of a sudden, pretty much overnight, her cognitive function just went downhill, and I didn't know what to do. I'm in Australia, she's in New Zealand. I'm like, I couldn't get there. I didn't know what to do, and I'm like, well, what can I do if I do get there? Could I bring her home with me? So that's what that was the plan. Now she's got 4 cats, and she won't go anywhere without those 4 cats. So I was like, okay, shall we, we'll get these cats sorted. So that meant I had to get them vaccinated. Some of them needed work done, and we had to get quotes and all this. And in the midst of all this, because this happened about, I think it was February last year. About last year, I think. One of the things was the doctor had put her on this amitriptyline, and she just started hallucinating really badly. So I was hoping it was just that. She was talking about, going out partying with these people that have been dead for years, and she doesn't party anyway. She's 75. She's got a myriad of health problems. She doesn't go anywhere. Doesn't hardly leave the house. So it was kind of like very scary for me, so I managed to get her off that drug, and she did come a little bit right, but she was never the same. She's very forgetful. She gets very paranoid, and very confused. So it was kind of like I need to do something about this. So from here, I had to try and fix things. I had to get, carers, social workers, and all that sort of on board, so that there was always someone keeping an eye on her. I ended up getting a power of attorney, so I could handle her bank account, so I could pay her bills and things like that, and order her groceries online and stuff. It's hard to know, like one day she'll be fine and the next day she's, away with the fairies. So it's just been trying to keep her out of the home pretty much, because that was her big fear. She didn't want to go into a nursing home. So I've been doing everything I can to keep her in her house with her cats until I can go and get her. And COVID kind of put a really big dampener on that. I couldn't go and get her, and it's made it hard. And my brother for a long time didn't want to know anything about it. He hadn't forgiven her. He kind of, just over the last couple of months, has sort of come to the party and decided that he wants to step up and maybe take Mum to live with him, which will be amazing if he does that, because it can't go on like this for much longer. But anyway, she read my book, and she said she just cried and cried and cried, and she said it kind of, I don't know, filled in a few blanks for her. But honestly, I think it just went, she just doesn't get it really, and even worse now, because she probably doesn't even remember half of it. But yeah, so as I was saying about writing being therapeutic and it being quite a good thing to do, even if you're only doing it for yourself, I think if you have the urge to write, just do it. Just sit down, open up your laptop or your iPad or whatever it is, and just start. I find like your muse, who obviously is your creative guide, he sort of comes through when you start doing something creative. I shouldn't say he, because sometimes it's a she. They just, I don't know, the ideas just come, and I've written, along with that, I've written fiction books as well. I wrote a series called The Man of My Dreams, or the Dream series, and The Man of My Dreams is all about a vigilante vampire that kills sexual predators. So that's my way of, getting justice, I guess. And with that, I wrote a series of 5 books where it was all about these vampires that are only like appear human in your dreams. So that's where the dream series came out. And yeah, one of the covers of the books I really love because it's my daughter. So my daughter was doing a bit of modelling and I got her in here. She's beautiful. That was like the second book in the series. I actually don't even have a copy of the first one. I sold them. So and another one I did was about my health issues, was Why Won't Someone Help Me? And this is just a tiny little book, you know. And this was it took so long to figure out that I had thyroid problems and a lot of other things going on, and lots of doctors' trips and doctors trying to give me antidepressants and send me on my merry way and just not listening. And most of these things that I have written in my books, funnily enough, come up when I do readings for clients. So it's almost like there's a reason I've gone through these things, because I can totally empathise with the person sitting across from me. I know exactly how they feel, and I am an empath, so I can sort of, if they turn into someone, I do pick up on emotions, and I can pick up on illnesses and pains and things like that. But having gone through a lot of the stuff, I can relate. So it makes it's almost like I've had to go through these things so that I can understand and can put myself in someone else's shoes, because, you know, it's really hard to put yourself in someone else's shoes and understand what someone else is going through, unless you've been through it yourself. So I have been through a lot of things, and I do, you know, so technically I don't advise people. I'm not, you know, I'm not a trained psychologist, so I can't give them advice about that. I don't advise legal advice, things like that. I advise them to see a lawyer or a doctor or, you know, psychologist. But I can sort of see what comes up in a reading, if they're heading in the right direction, what kind of obstacles might come up and things like that. But yeah, so that kind of journey to write, I had ever since I was very young. I'd always loved to write. And like I said, I don't know if I'm the best writer, and you have to have an editor. No matter what anyone tells you, you cannot edit your own work. You need to actually pay an editor, unless you're lucky enough to have well, even though I don't think it's a good idea to get a relative to do it. I was going to say if you had a mum who was an English teacher, but probably not a good idea. They have to be totally impartial, I think. And you have to have a really, really thick skin and be ready to be shot down and told that your book's crap, pretty much, because not everyone's going to like it. So you have to have a thick skin. And I think also doing psychic work, you have to have a thick skin, because you're going to get people telling you you're a fraud. You're going to get people telling you that you're just out to rip people off, that the psychics aren't real, and all this kind of stuff. So whenever you're thinking of going into a business where you're putting yourself out there in the public eye, be ready for some negative stuff and trolling and all that kind of stuff. And the worst thing you can do is react to it. You just delete and block them and let it go. But yeah, anyway, that's just a little bit more about my story. Not sure what I'll talk about next, but I'll talk to you then. Okay, bye.